By 1900, the whole of the African continent had been colonized, except for Ethiopia, which had defeated the Italian imperialists in 1896 at Adowa. This was squarely the fault of the African chiefs and kings who had watched the slow encroachment of these European invaders right from the time when the Ottoman Turks captured Constantinople, Istanbul, in 1453, closing the overland route to Asia for Europe, pioneered by Marco Polo around the years 1271 to 1295. While the Europeans were rightly looking for an alternative route to the east by going around our massive continent, they became slave traders and colonialists when they discovered the weaknesses created by our kings. Our kings were oppressing the people, fighting one another instead of cooperating, failed to adopt new scientific knowledge, e.g. gunpowder. The Europeans invented gunpowder when our kings were here just running around with spears. Many of the kings participated in the slave trade, selling our people. The Bible says the wages of sin is death. It says in the book of the Romans, chapter 6, verse 23. And somewhere else the Bible says, whatever man sows, that's what he reaps. It says in the book of the Galatians, chapter 6, verse 7 to 8. By 1900, all those African kings were either dead or captured or had capitulated to subservience. They had squandered the time when they could have done the necessary changes to immunize us against domination. Ever since 1498, when Vasco da Gama passed by the East African coast, here in Zanzibar, Mombasa, attacked Mombasa. Vasco da Gama actually attacked Mombasa and continued to India. It was a whole 402 years wasted. Those kings wasted 402 years. No scientific innovation, no unit among themselves, etc. They paid for their mistakes. Kabarega, our kings there in Uganda, Mwanga, Chetwayo, the one in South Africa, even here Mkwawa, I don't know whether he was captured or what. He tried to fight, etc. were either dead or captured. Unfortunately, the whole of Africa also paid for having slaves torn away from their country, freedom hijacked, resources stolen, etc. Africa, by 1900, was facing a catastrophe. Some of the people that were colonized in Latin America, North America, Australia, were exterminated, or only very few of them are still surviving, and their lands were taken over by other people. However, while the leadership of Africa has been problematic for centuries, the populations are tough, hardworking, and wealth creators for millennia. Unlike the American Indians or Aboriginal Australians, we died during the colonial aggression, but did not perish. Our cattle, goats, sheep, chicken, etc., that stay with us in our hearts, had long vaccinated us against the deadly zoonotic diseases between man and animals that had exterminated the other indigenous peoples. That gave opportunity for new and more potent forces to emerge and become the vanguard of the African resistance. Who were these who resisted? There were two clusters initially. The African-American Pan-Africanists in the persons of W.B. Du Bois, Marcus Garvey, Pademont, etc., and the African National Congress of South Africa that was founded in 1912. The Historical Commission now for the black race and the other colonized peoples was liberation against imperialists through the worldwide anti-colonial movement. In the case of Africa, the historical missions were liberation, ukombozi, uhuru, modernization, creation of prosperity, and provision of strategic security against all threats. How were we to achieve this? Uhuru na umoja, freedom and unity. Unity, freedom would enable us to control our destiny again. Umoja would enable us to address the issue of prosperity and strategic security. How was prosperity to be achieved, and how is it achieved in other countries? With modern economics, prosperity is achieved through the production and sale of the goods or services that one is capable of producing. To sell, however, you need markets. Producers need buyers to succeed. Producers need buyers to succeed. The more buyers you have, the more prosperous you become. This is where economic integration of East Africa and the whole of Africa comes in. If we do not work on this seriously and without wasting time, we betray our people. We connoisseur the African Revolution, miscooking it. The next question is the issue of strategic security against all possible threats. If we do not understand that, we again betray Africa. Strategic security can only come, in my view, from political integration. Why? Political integration through the creation of the regional federations where possible rationalizes the geography of the defended zone so that we are able to be present in the four spheres of the universe. Four spheres of the universe: land defenses, air defenses, defenses at sea, the navy, and defenses in space. Apart from rationalizing the geography of the defended area, you need necessary muscle, size of land, natural resources, and population. As we speak today, only 4 countries have been to the moon. These are the USA, China, Russia, and India. There are a number of highly developed countries, but they have not been able to land on the moon. They are still here with us also. Is there something to size? In any case, there is no harm in having a big political unit through the political integration where possible to conclude this short statement. We need to answer the following questions. These are: if we do not create a big market, how do we intend to encourage and support the wealth creators in the respective countries? If we do not create a big and reliable market for our wealth creators, how do businesses expand to produce more products, create more jobs, and pay more taxes? The answer is, if we are not able, the other question is, if you are not able to operate in the 4 spheres, land, air, sea, and space, how do we hope to guarantee our strategic security? Somebody is on the moon looking at you, you don't see him, how do you protect yourself? The ancient area of Africa, East Africa, given the potential to unite all our people around Swahili language, has the capacity to create prosperity and also ensure the strategic security of the black race. Historically speaking, if we use the dedication to the 4 historical missions, we discover that the patriots that fulfilled their mandate were Mwalimu Nyerere, Sheikh Aman Abed Karume, Sekou Toure, Nkrumah, and Modibo Keita. Of these efforts, it's only Tanzania that has sustained the success of economic and political integration. We must salute Tanzania. They are a shining example. Even the struggle for Uhuru liberation was not easy because we had collaborators. However, mainly because of the combination of the African resistance, ANC of South Africa, the Mau Mau in Kenya, etc., the global anti-colonial movement in Asia and Latin America, the emergence of the socialist camp following the victories of the communists in Russia and China, and the imperialists weakening themselves with their inter-imperialist wars of 1914, 1918, 1939, 1945. By 1963, a total of 36 countries had got independence in Africa. There was, however, another 20 or so where the imperialists were determined not to surrender. These were Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Angola, Namibia, etc. Some of the countries were on the road to independence, e.g. Kenya and Zambia, but not the others. Little Portugal was saying that Mozambique, Angola, Guinea-Bissau, etc. were not colonies, but overseas provinces of Portugal. In quotes, imagine. Little Portugal was saying that Mozambique is an overseas province of Portugal. And that the black Africans can become black Portuguese assimilados by forgetting their culture. While at the OAU conference of 1963 in Addis Ababa, Africa had declared that the whole Africa must be free either by peace or by war, it was only a few countries led by Tanzania under the leadership of Mwalimu that really stood by the freedom fighters. Others were Zambia, Botswana, Guinea-Conakry, Algeria, Ghana under Nkrumah, and Egypt under Nasser. On account of the resistance movements, support of these Pan-Africanists, the socialist countries, and some democratic groups in the West, by 1994, the whole of Africa was free with the majority rule in South Africa. So by 1994, we had spent a whole century trying to liberate Africa from these invaders. And the last country to be free was South Africa in 1994. I'm glad to say that although the revolutionaries in Uganda arrived on the scene late, from 1989, we were able to give serious support to the ANC of South Africa and the PSC in the form of military training, logistics, educational opportunities, etc. Africa had therefore, as the century of shame for African continent, where the whole of it had been colonized and a half a millennium of plunder by the European and Arabs with the slave trade, come to an end, become free. Africa had become free. Uhuru, freedom had come. The question was, where is Umoja? Because you remember, it was Uhuru na Umoja. Uhuru came. Now the question was, where is Umoja? Umoja for economic prosperity through economic integration in order to create big markets to support the efforts of the African wealth creators, and Umoja for political integration where possible to create strategic security for the black race on land, in the air, at sea, and in space. Yes, some of the efforts for economic integration have moved. I worked with Mzee Moi, Mzee Mwinyi, Mzee Mkapa to revive the East African community. You remember this community had broken up. So when we came into government, immediately we started working with Mzee Moi, Mzee Mwinyi, later on Mkapa. We brought it back. 1999. I salute Rwanda, Burundi, South Sudan, Somalia, and the Democratic Republic of Congo for joining the East African community. Let us fully implement the Charter of the East African community and the roadmap, as His Excellency Mr. President Ruto was reporting.